Okay, hi. When I was introducing myself, I explained that I was involved in different education courses and also in different graduation projects. For today, I select two examples that I want to show you of my students, how they made their own patient experience journey. And the first one is of Suzanne Starre, and her graduation project was designing the video capsule endoscopy care pathway at Maastad Hospital. So she really looked how to improve the video capsule endoscopy. And video capsule endoscopy is a way of diagnosing of the patient by taking a pill, which is a camera. So for certain amount of hours, the camera stays in your, starting with your mouth, goes through the whole intestinal system, and make a lot of pictures in order to see where some deviations can be seen. But it is a treatment which is made at the hospital. So the patient comes very early in that day to the hospital and take the capsule and will stay there for 8 hours. But there are also a lot of limitations for the patient. So he or she cannot use the cell phone, for example, but also should avoid certain areas in the hospital. So there are a lot of limitations what the patient can do in that 8 hours time. The medical staff are just see the patient at the beginning and then at the end. So they also don't have a good idea what the patient do the whole time in the hospital. So that was really the start point for this assignment. Okay, what is the care pathway of a patient who get the video capsule endoscopy look like, and what is he doing, and how can we improve the experience and support the patient in that 8 hours time, you could say. So what she did was, as you did, first identify the different actors which were involved in the care pathway, and also identify the roles of the different actors, like she mentioned the doctor, the nurse, the desk clerk, the family and friends, because sometimes the patient brings family with them for the whole day, but sometimes they are alone. But also the treatment or during that day, also other patients are involved. So in this case, there is always 2 patients getting the same treatment. So there are also other patients involved. After she identified the actors and the roles of the actors, she also identified the responsibilities. So in order to see in which phase of the patient journey that she will make, who is responsible in order to identify or describe the touch points more specifically. The doctor inform the patient, for example, about the examination and treatment, provide information on alternative treatments, and provide information on possible side effects of the treatment, for example. Reach a decision together with the patient to get this treatment, and prescribe medicine when needed. And if you look to the nurse, because the responsibility of the doctor is in this case very high, but the involvement during that specific day is very less, and that of the nurse is much more. It starts with check if the right patient is present at that day, perform the examination with the patient, and being a contact person for any questions for the whole day for that patient. And she is also doing the pre-calling and after calling about the treatment. So she also described the responsibilities very specifically. Then she starts with making the patient journey. So she starts with a couple weeks before the treatment, and then she also make it more specifically a week upfront the treatment, since there's some information exchange taking place. The day upfront, because there are also some activities involved before the day, so she make it also as a part of a specific phase of the journey. The day of research, she start, for example, with before 7 o'clock, very early in the morning, and then 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, like a whole day she make a part of the journey. So I will just first show you the phases and then go through how she fill in the different phases. So the whole day, and then the day after the research, and couple days after the research. And then she includes not only the actors but also the location. So since this treatment will take place partially, especially some activities should take place at home, so she identified the location as a part of the journey. And of course, a part the day the treatment itself will take place in the hospital. She also introduced, for example, the whole procedure in the patient journey. So she really step by step filling in from the procedure perspective what is needed in that specific time, specific phase, in order to get a good understanding also what the procedure look like. Also, she include the contact moments when a patient receive an email and telephone call. So she really specified it in this journey to see where the communication exchange will take place. And also she includes the different actors. So in the bottom line you see all the different actors are involved. And also, as you did, she also include the emotion line. What is nice about this patient journey, it gives a very good overview of the whole day, but also to show what the preparations before the treatment are and what take place after the surgery, for example. So it's a coherent and whole story about the treatment. And what I also like in this journey, that she include the procedure. So when you see the different steps in the different phases of the journey, then you can see what will happen at 9 o'clock during that day. So you can also zoom in very specifically at that time frame and look how far you are in the procedure. I think this is so far the patient journey that I would like to share with you. And what she identified after doing this patient journey, she identified that the patients are kind of lost, you can say, after the nurse, that they had a nurse contact with the nurse, and then they are free to stay in the hospital with the limitations of not visiting certain areas. So from that limitations, she creates an opportunity and start with her ideation, design specifications, design goal, to see how that part can be improved. Her design vision was make a day that you will never forget. Like, okay, I am here, I will get the treatment, I will stay here for 8 hours, but how can I get the experience that I never forget? So it was her design goal. Well, she starts based on the patient journey also with her ideation and conceptualization phase. So she looked to different aspects and also used, as you did, the what, the who, where, when and why questions in order to start the ideation process. And I will go to our solution. She make also personas based on the patient's journey in order to see where the differences are, especially with how someone is being active. Sometimes the people bringing a book, for example, to read, but the others will just little more will be more active, but what are the possibilities in the hospital? So all these things she included in her ideation phase. And finally she designed a surface solution where how she called the name Op pad in Maastad, like an explore the Maastad hospital, and she make a different route in the hospital to do some activities. For example, there was some art already in the hospital hanging on the certain floors, so she identified the path of the different arts which was hanging there, and you can follow the route, the path, and look to the different art, and you will also get information about the art. So that was she really make use of something which is already exists there, but she also make a kind of puzzle route, and that was you get a map, and on the map certain places are indicated. And by visiting that certain places you collect some information which is needed in order to answer at the end a question which is asked in a puzzle, for example. So she also adds features, you could say, on the existing things, but also make a whole journey of itself, and give different possibilities for the patient to explore. Let me see. So the art route, the puzzle route. So it was, I think, a very good way to really map the solutions to the journey. She used the journey as an analysis tool, but also as a design tool to see where the opportunities are and how you can, what solutions you can provide in that certain specific phases. And I think that is really the power of the patient journeys. It's not only an analysis tool, but it's also a design tool where you get your inspiration.